There was a beautiful coastal town in Florida, a place where the salty breeze carried the scent of the sea, and the waves danced under the golden sun. The people of this town were known for one thing above all: they loved their fish fresh. Fishermen would set sail early in the morning, their boats slicing through the waves, and by evening they would return with their catch. The town's markets were always bustling with eager customers, excited to buy the freshest fish possible. But as time passed, the sea near the shore grew quiet. The fish, once plentiful, became scarce. The fishermen had to venture farther and farther into the deep ocean to find fish. At first, they thought this was just a minor inconvenience. All they had to do was travel longer distances and catch fish from the farthest corners of the sea. But there was one major problem. By the time they returned to shore, the fish had lost their freshness. Their once glowing scales turned dull, their lively movements slowed, and their flavor was no longer the same. People in the town immediately noticed the difference. They frowned at the fish, shook their heads, and walked away. "This isn't fresh," they said. "We want our fish straight from the sea." The fishermen were troubled. Their hard work was going to waste, and their livelihood was in danger. But then someone had an idea. One of the fishermen, an old man named Samuel, suggested using freezers. "We can store the fish in ice and keep them from spoiling," he said. Seemed like a brilliant idea. The fishermen installed large freezers on their boats, and after catching the fish, they stored them in ice. When they returned, they proudly displayed their frozen fish in the market. But once again, the townspeople were disappointed. "This fish is frozen," they complained. "It's not the same as fresh fish." Frozen fish lack the texture, the taste, and the vibrancy of freshly caught ones. No matter how hard the fishermen tried, the people refused to buy frozen fish. The fishermen sat together at the dock, scratching their heads. What could they do? If freezing didn't work, how could they keep the fish fresh? Then a younger fisherman named Michael came up with another idea. "What if we keep the fish alive?" he suggested. The fishermen nodded. That made sense. If the fish were alive, they would still be fresh when they reached shore. So they built large water tanks inside their boats and filled them with seawater. Every time they caught fish, they placed them inside the tanks. At first, it seemed like a perfect solution. The fish remained alive, moving slowly in the tanks as the boats traveled back home. But when the fishermen reached the shore, they noticed something strange. The fish were alive, but they were sluggish. Their energy was gone. They had spent hours in still water, floating lazily without movement. They no longer had the same liveliness as fish fresh from the sea. Once again, the townspeople were not satisfied. "These fish are alive, but they seem lifeless," they said. "We want fish that are fresh and full of energy." The fishermen were at a loss. What else could they do? If even keeping the fish alive didn't work, what other option was left? Just when the fishermen were about to give up, a wise old man from the town, who had spent his life studying the sea, approached them. He listened to their troubles and smiled. "I have a simple solution," he said. "Place a small shark inside the tank with the fish." The fishermen were shocked. "A shark? But won't it eat the fish?" "Yes," the old man admitted. "It will eat a few. But the rest will stay alert, active, and full of life as they try to escape the shark. And that's what will keep them fresh." The idea seemed risky, but the fishermen had no other choice. They placed a small shark inside each tank before heading back to shore. And something incredible happened. As soon as the fish realized there was a shark in the tank, they became alert. They darted across the water, constantly moving, trying to stay away from the predator. They never stopped swimming, never grew lazy, and never became sluggish. By the time the fishermen reached the market, the fish were as lively as ever, their scales shining, their eyes bright, and their bodies full of energy. This time, when the townspeople saw the fish, they were thrilled. "This is what we want," they cheered. "These fish are fresh and full of life." The fishermen had finally found the perfect way to keep their fish fresh, by introducing a challenge, a difficulty that forced the fish to stay active. The story of the fishermen and their shark soon spread far and wide. But this story was not just about fish. It carried a deeper lesson about life itself. You see, life is just like that tank of fish. When we live too comfortably without any challenges or struggles, we become stagnant. We lose our motivation, our energy, and our passion. Just like the fish in the still water, we become lazy and uninspired. But the moment a challenge enters our life, like the shark in the tank, we are forced to move. We become sharper, stronger, and more determined. The difficulties we face push us to grow and improve. Many great thinkers have spoken about this truth. Ron Hubbard, a famous American psychologist, once said, "A person grows only in a challenging environment, and their abilities increase with difficulties." George Bernard Shaw, a great writer, said, "Comfort is death." And Bruce Lee, one of the greatest martial artists of all time, wisely said, "Do not pray for an easy life. Pray for the strength to endure the difficulties that are coming your way." Every successful person in history had a shark in their life. A challenge, a hardship, or a dream that kept them moving forward. Do you have a shark in your tank? Now, my friend, ask yourself, do you have a shark in your tank? Are you challenging yourself every day? Or are you living too comfortably, avoiding difficulties and letting your skills grow dull? If you don't have a challenge in your life, find one. Set a goal so big that it scares you. Take on something difficult that forces you to grow. Because in the end, it is not the easy days that shape us, but the hard ones. It is the storms that make a sailor strong. It is the fire that makes steel unbreakable. And it is the challenges that bring out the best in us. So embrace the shark in your life and watch yourself become stronger, wiser, and more unstoppable than ever before.